Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Death Talk Unscripted. I'm Paula, your host, Death Walker, MAID advocate, ritualist, and I'm going to guide you through the thresholds in this episode that we've been taught to fear. And death is what I talk about. Death is to me as natural a subject as birth, what's for dinner, did I get my laundry done? It is something that should be up in everybody's daily conversations, and you should be thinking about it on a regular basis. But this episode is for season 4, episode 2, and I've kind of given it a theme, if you will. I've dubbed it The Poisoned Apple, a metaphysical thriller in disguise. I kind of thought it was kind of cute. So settle in. Let's take a breath together. Whew. And let's walk right into the conversation together, shall we? When I say the word death, it usually makes people's cackles get up in a defensive mode. It may make your sphincter, tuck in. All of a sudden your muscles may tighten up, your jaw may lock a little bit. And this is something that we have done as a culture. We have made death be associated with all these feelings, with all these negative emotions and negative reactions that seem to pop up when someone just merely mentions death, dying, or the dead. It really is what I call what society and the collective has deemed the poison apple that we must all eat. At least that's the story that they keep telling us, right? I mean, they keep producing it over and over and over again. And it truly is. It's a story that has been stitched with fear. And I can't begin to tell you how many warped, wrapped superstitions come along with that. And I do mean warped. Some of them are almost passed down like there's some sort of paganistic, satanic, deep, dark underworld goth warning. And it really has become, just look at some of the symbols we use for death. We use the Grim Reaper with the dark hood and the skeleton face. And, we create all these dark images for death. And I guess it's more of a shadow. And we always have a warning that comes with it. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't speak its name. We have other names for it, like unalived, passed away, I lost someone. These are all cop-outs. These are all soft things that lead us back to don't touch it. Don't look at it. Don't speak its name. We've turned death into a boogeyman. We've turned it into the ultimate nightmare, the angel of doom. There was a time when it was the angel of death. And even that connotation is as wicked and as awful as what we profane witches to be. Is it quite the spine-tingling tale? I hope so. I hope that it makes your spine tingle. I hope that this episode makes you turn around and go, whoa, got little hairs on the back of my neck standing up even. But what if all this tale that I've just kind of laid out for you, what if it's all wrong? What if it's not the true tale? What if it's not the original story? What if it's been flipped and tossed and scripted and rewritten over and over to appease what every era and situation that we as human beings have come along the way on this evolutionary walk and path that we're doing? What if death was never poison? What if the venom that we spout about it, the venom that we attach to the word death, that we think death is so filled with, what if it was all manufactured? like I said, by culture alone, oh my God, I mean, we must have decades and decades and millennial of toxins running through all that. Imagine taking a bite out of that one. How about institutions? How about the fact that we have very little choice? I know everybody thinks we have choices. They say, well, you can do hospice and you can do voluntary stoppage of eating and drinking. And we do have MAID, medical aid in dying. But the only one that is absolutely available under an umbrella that we all can encompass is a hospice. The others, they're a far reaching. They're the apple that we can't reach. They're the pretty golden one that stands over in this hand and says, look but don't touch. And the same thing happens when it comes to medical aid and dying. We have the same poisoned apple on that one as well. So the institutions, they really do, they've really manufactured a lot of venom with that too. I mean, if you look at hospice and the prolonging, and we have just turned it into such an institutionalized, and there's a lot of religion that's caught up in that too, but that's not this episode. I'll talk about all the structures between political and religious in another one, but not in this one. Also, I do believe that the venom is part of the collective as a whole, a collective that refuses to face the mirror, that refuses to see the beauty in death, the brilliance of death, just as they do in birth, just as they do in living through the life that they have. So I ask, what if the apple was always meant to be eaten? The more I think about that, what if the apple was always meant to be eaten? What if it had never had the confines? It had never been structured or conformed to what it is now? What if we had taken a different path? This leads me into something that I often call the great forgetting. I do believe that there were ancestors, and I do believe there were decades and millenniums ago that offered death in a different light, that revered it and asked for, that there was presence given, there was sovereignty given. There was a sense of grandeur, if you will. And somehow, like I said, that just got lost in the great forgetting. So there was a time, if you can imagine, long before hospitals, long before any policy was written, long before we outsourced our dying, when, like I said, death was honored. Everything about dying is outsourced now. And just follow the money. It will tell you exactly how we view and how we treat death, which is something that is the last grand thing you get to do as a human. And we treat it as a capitalistic goal, just as we do birth. And we do the same thing with both of them. Birth just gets the light, and death somehow gets the shadow. There's something about tribalness that I have always liked. I always liked that tribal, primal vision or feeling that I often get and see. And I think everybody does. I just don't think people naturally tune into it. But I think that memory is in all of us. I think it's held within our DNA. It's something that we choose to bury. It's something that we have perhaps made dormant, but the elders knew. And even the mystics know today. Death was ceremony. It was transition. It was the next chapter that was now being written for the human experience that was given and allowed to take place. And death was the moment the soul, wrapped in its temporary meat bag cloak, when it whispers, I done what I came to do. It's time for me to go. I don't need to wait for my meat bag to give up the ghost. Like I said, I've done what I came to do. So beam me up. It wasn't an ending. It isn't a passage. I'm sorry. It was a passage. It's the next portal. It's the next chapter. And it needs to be given its properness. It's a dimensional shift. And we need to honor it and recognize it. And we need to return it back to the origin that it's meant to be. But again, like I said, somewhere along the line, we forgot. Or we, like I said, chose to have it be dormant. Chose to not have it be anything more than a distant taboo. Something that's only spoken really and truly in very, very last minute circumstances. We scrubbed death from view. We buried the wisdom. Boy, one of the things that I know for sure is we polished the process. Boy, we polished it and we patented it, and we are sitting there and we're rubbing it and making it so pretty. And all we did was make it a clinical, medical, political, religious mess in dying. Especially now, if you're going to mosey right into hospice, cool. You're on your way. You're getting it done. May you have everything. But you have to remember, not all of us think hospice is a whoopee way to go. We would like the option of actually deciding the time, the day, and the place that we would like to absolutely whisper, I've done what I came to do. Now beam me up. We've turned the apple into poison and we called it protection. That's the thing that gets me. Is we took the beautiful apple that death was, and you can use the apple as the symbol of the Garden of Eden. You can use it in so many ways it fits. And we turned it into poison. We did that as a culture, as a collective, as a species. We did that. It was never supposed to be that way. But as time has moved on, we have set it further and further and further back. There's what I call the modern myth making that I think should be discussed too. In today's world, we treat death like some contaminated object. We hide it in our institutions, we numb it, we package it in the euphemisms that I just referred to earlier. We measure quality of life by metrics that mean nothing to the soul. Nothing. We put so much value into that body, into that meat bag thing, that we give it a priority over the soul. That essence being, that spiritual, magical, cosmic energy. We make it sit in the passenger. And why we think the body should be the main show is absolutely mind-boggling to me. We prolong suffering in the name of mortality. We deny choice in the name of comfort. You know why medical aid in dying isn't active in every state across this country? It's not about whether the dying person's comfortable with it. It's because the whole rest of the culture, the collective, it makes you uncomfortable. But it's not your death. Actually, it shouldn't be in your realm of anything. If you're not the dying person, then really and truly, you don't get to choose in how they get to go out. Or at least you shouldn't. We silence dying in the name of order and policy and properness and a crazy little old thing that says do no harm, that is so outdated and antiquated that, well, let's not even get into that. And then we wonder why we're all terrified. We wonder why nobody wants to have this conversation. We wonder why we wonder why we now choose words like unalived and passed on and I lost someone, and there's just no need for it. We've created the nightmare. We wrote this gothic novella. We cast death as the villain, as the failure. But the truth, really? The truth is far more eloquent. It's far more cosmic. And I think we need to go back to that. I think we need to look at the sovereignty. I think we need to look at the autonomy. I think we need to open up a vocal channel for people to say, I want to choose how, where, and when I die. I want to be able to whisper, I've done what I came here to do. I'm ready to go. There's a remembering. And I think this is something that I like to bring up because to me, something is stirring. There's a remembering coming, a return, and you can feel it. There's never been as much death talk. There's never been as much death movement as actually is going on right now, right here in this present time. We have death walkers and death doulas, and we have grief counselors, and we are actively talking about how people want to die and what they go through when the dying get there. And we're talking about caregivers who, have been a silent workforce for, God, I don't know how many decades, but lots of them. And it's been free labor. And we don't, we're talking about burnout now, and we're talking about the failure of a healthcare system that we have in this country. I mean, everything that we have built up about death is now in our face. Death is bigger than birth right now. You really can't get any more prominent than that. So to me, when we talk about MAID, medical aid in dying, it's part of this awakening. It's not just a legal option. It's not just a medical protocol, but it's a metaphysical invitation, friends. It's a chance to reclaim the final scene, to choose dignity, to choose grace, to choose the moment we beam out with clarity and cosmic rhythm. We give that soul, we give that inner cosmic being, that projected energy that encapsulates this meat bag that we carry. We need to put that first. The meat bag is an accessory. It is something that will quit on its own. It will decompose, and it will reverberate, and it will return to its natural status of the earth because it is of this dimension. The meat bag is never going to go into the cosmic web. It's never going to feel that spontaneous transmutation of energy, that zapping, that where we came into, we will go out back into. And to me, that is the key thing. That is one of the most important issues when I think about medical aid in dying. I think about the trauma that I'm not going to be laying on my soul essence, on my cosmic being. My meat bag, it already knows what it's doing. It's just going to shut down, and it's going to quit working, and it's all going to do everything that it's mechanically and bioorganically inclined to do. Why should my soul? Why should my cosmic being be trapped when I'm okay with giving it up? I'm okay with letting the meat and bones give up the ghost, to put it mildly. I think medical aid in dying is ceremony. I think it's sovereignty. I really think it's the soul saying, I choose my exit with intention. And yes, there will be shadows. There always are. But there's light as well. You can't have shadows without light. And it goes the same in birth as well as death. Birth, yes, we focus on the light. Oh my gosh, we got a new little one coming in. But I guarantee you there's shadows. I guarantee you ask any woman who's birthed a child, and there's light, but there were shadows as well. Death is the same thing. The only difference is we don't ever look at the light. And when we do have a light, we automatically protocol it, policify it, religionize it, politicize it, and it changes the whole concept of it. So I think every person should have the right to say, I choose my exit with intention. I want you to remember too that shadow and light, they were made to dance. Just like birth and death are entwined, it's a dance that they do. When you come into this world, you know the exact moment that you came in and you took your first breath and you became legacy. But at the same time, your death clock started. It's secretive. It's silent. There is no when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. That's the dance, my friends. When we allow death back into the circle, we stop snubbing it. We start listening. We begin to heal something ancient, something that is long in need of remembering, my friends, my beloveds. So I guess to wrap this all up, the truth of the apple, let's just get down to it. Death is not an omission. It's not something forgotten or left behind. It is, again, a rite of passage. It is the final scene of your show, of your life, that you have been here as a human being to experience it. It is a sacred transition. And I say this with the most solid intent that I know how to say. It's not a failure. It's not something that we need to constantly try to avoid and to make sure that we just keep pushing it away and saying, no, it can't happen. No, it can't happen. But it is a completion. It is a completion of purpose. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It is a completion of you as a cosmic spiritual essence being in a meat bioorganic cloak body that came here for a purpose, to experience being human. The soul does not vanish. It expands. It returns to it returns to ether, to rhythm. I like to say this most of all, to the great cosmic field from which it came. The apple was never poison, my beloveds. It never was. It's all a lie. It was and still is the fruit of freedom. Freedom for the conscious, cosmic soul being, for that energy essence. And I'm going to close with that. And I'd like to say unequivocally that I have nothing against hospice or the people who work in hospice. They're beautiful, beautiful people. I simply believe it can't simply be our only choice, and it can't be called a choice if that's all there is. So I would like to go ahead and tell everyone to thank you so much for joining in. Let's take a deep breath. And I'd like to leave you with one more thing. Thank you for joining me for this very unexpected, deeply aligned solo episode. If it stirred something inside you, please share it, sit with it, let it ripple, even contact me and ask me questions if you have. This is Paula Adams. You've been listening to Death Talk Unscripted. Until next time, walk gently, walk bravely, and please remember, the apple was never poison. It was the invitation to remember. So much love.